What if everything powering your life, your phone, your car, your entire grid was built on a technology that could be replaced by something cheaper, safer, and already hiding in plain sight? Your phone, your laptop, your electric car, every device that matters, powered by the same chemistry since 1991. But here's what the industry doesn't advertise. Lithium batteries can catch fire. They hate the cold. Their prices swing wildly, and the entire global supply chain hangs by a thread, controlled by just a handful of countries. For decades, engineers searched for something better. Most gave up. But one technology, dismissed, forgotten, and left for dead, just came back with a vengeance. A sodium-ion battery has officially entered mass production, and it's not just competing with lithium. It's threatening to rewrite the rules entirely. Why lithium became king? To understand why this is such a big deal, you need to understand why lithium won in the first place. Every battery moves charged particles, ions, between two electrodes. The faster and more efficiently they move, the better the battery performs. Lithium's secret weapon: size. Lithium ions are among the smallest and lightest in existence. You can pack an extraordinary amount of energy into a tiny, featherweight package. That's why, in the early 90s, lithium changed everything. Almost overnight, phones shrank. Laptops got light enough to carry. Electric vehicles stopped being a joke. High voltage, high energy, density, compact design. The industry poured hundreds of billions into making lithium even better, and for a while, it seemed unstoppable. But every empire has its cracks. Here's what lithium's success story left out. Under the right or wrong conditions, lithium batteries can enter something called thermal runaway. Heat triggers more heat. More heat triggers more heat, until you have a fire that's nearly impossible to stop. You've seen the headlines. Phones catching fire mid-flight. Electric vehicles burning for hours on the highway. Massive grid storage facilities that smoldered for days. Then there's the cold problem. Drop the temperature and lithium ions slow to a crawl. Charging slows. Range drops. Performance tanks right when you need it most. And then there's the supply chain. Most of the world's lithium comes from a handful of regions. Mining, refining, and manufacturing are concentrated in a small number of countries. That concentration creates risk, political risk, logistical risk, and pricing risk. Between 2020 and 2022, lithium prices didn't just rise, they exploded, then collapsed. Battery manufacturers trying to plan decade-long projects found themselves at the mercy of one of the most volatile commodities on the planet. So the question quietly became urgent. What comes after lithium? The answer, as it turns out, has been sitting on the periodic table the whole time. Right next to lithium-sodium. Before lithium took over, sodium was the one scientists believed in. Same family of elements, same ability to carry electric charge, same potential to power a rechargeable battery, and one massive, undeniable advantage. Sodium is everywhere. You can pull it from seawater. It's one of the most abundant elements on Earth. No scarcity, no geopolitical choke points, no fear of running out, ever. So why did it fail? One word: size. Sodium ions are significantly larger than lithium ions, and in traditional battery materials, that extra bulk caused serious problems. The ions couldn't be stored efficiently. Performance suffered, and one by one, researchers moved on. By the late 90s, sodium batteries were considered a dead end. Then, a discovery changed everything. The breakthrough came from an unlikely place, a material called hard carbon. Unlike graphite, which works beautifully with lithium, hard carbon has a disordered, porous structure full of tiny, irregular gaps. And it turns out those gaps are almost perfectly sized for sodium ions. Suddenly, the old obstacle disappeared. Researchers refined the chemistry for years. And then, CATL, the world's largest battery manufacturer, placed a massive bet. After nearly a decade of intensive development, they unveiled a sodium-ion battery that stunned the industry. Energy density that rivals entry-level lithium batteries. Charging speeds that compete head-to-head. Lifespan exceeding 10,000 charge cycles. Enough for decades of real-world use. The technology that was written off as a failure had quietly become formidable. But what really turned heads wasn't the specs on paper. It was where sodium batteries actually outperform lithium. Start with cold weather. Lithium batteries degrade badly in freezing temperatures. Sodium batteries barely flinch. Some designs maintain strong charging performance, even in extreme sub-zero conditions. If you live in Minnesota, Norway, Canada, or anywhere winter is actually winter, that's not a minor improvement. That's a fundamental shift. Then there's safety. Sodium's chemistry sidesteps some of the most dangerous failure modes in lithium batteries. The thermal runaway risk drops dramatically. And finally, cost. Sodium and aluminum are both cheap and globally abundant. That could translate into battery packs that cost a fraction of what they do today. Think about what that actually means. Electric vehicles becoming accessible to middle-income families in India, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. Grid-scale energy storage, cheap enough to power entire villages on solar alone. A clean energy future that doesn't require winning a geopolitical lottery to build. That's not speculation. That's the math. So is lithium finished? Not quite. And here's why. That's actually an interesting answer. Lithium still holds one advantage. That's very hard to beat. Energy density per gram. For smartphones, laptops, drones, and next-generation aircraft. Smaller and lighter will always win. Lithium still owns that space. But here's where the story gets more interesting than a simple rivalry. For 30 years, the battery industry chased one metric above all else: energy density. More power, smaller package, longer range. But sometimes the technology that changes the world isn't the one that tops the spec sheet. Sometimes it's the one that's cheap enough to actually reach everyone, safe enough to trust everywhere, durable enough to last decades. Sodium batteries may never dethrone lithium completely, but they don't need to. If they make clean energy affordable in places that couldn't afford it before, if they make electric vehicles accessible to the next billion buyers, that might be the more important victory. Billions of dollars are now moving into sodium-ion development. Mass production has begun. This isn't a story about what might happen someday. It's a story about what's already happening. The battery revolution isn't approaching. It's here. And for the first time since 1991, lithium has a challenger it cannot simply ignore. What do you think? Will sodium batteries reshape the energy landscape? Or will lithium hold its crown? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more stories about the technologies quietly changing everything, subscribe. We cover them before they go mainstream.